Okay, so for this video, I want to really focus on what I mentioned in my last video. And that has to do with The Last of Us. I have a series of videos that I'm going to be doing surrounding the storyline. But for sure, I want to speak about one particular thing in one particular instance that makes a lot of this an issue. But it also points out a lot of issues when you consider the people's response to it. Now you have people that, again, support or this game, which acts as a movie, might as well. It's a very linear storyline. It forces you into every single situation. So yes, by the way, if people negatively criticize this game based upon the story, they have every right to do that, and it makes sense considering how story driven this game is. It's not an MMO or anything like that. This is just a very linear story driven game. So if the story is crap, the game's going to be crap. That's just how it is. It really doesn't matter if the games or the graphics or the gameplay is just up to par or something like that and groundbreaking. But like I said, a lot of people supported this out of spite. Leaks came out, I remember, and look, it's just a game that already has a following because of the first game. A lot of normies just, we know that we live in this Twitch age, man, and that's just what it is. A lot of normies were going to play this game regardless. It's going to sell really well, and again, a lot of people support it out of spite. Now, why do they support it out of spite? And that's going to really tie into the point of this video. They support a lot of things out of spite because they build up invisible enemies. They have perpetuated an idea that is simply not true, and that is like people have an issue with LGBT people. Therefore, that's why they don't like this game. So that's why they say that you're homophobic, you're transphobic, or something like that in the event that you don't like the game. Obviously, that has nothing to do with it. That's not even a part of people's main criticism. Maybe some people are. I'm not going to just act like there's absolutely nobody that's criticizing that in some capacity. But I'm talking about the mere idea of like just LGBT existing in a game is not the main talking point. Okay, no matter how much they want to conjure up this narrative, that's not the case. And they do that because it allows them to support garbage, feel good about it, and feel even better about being in opposition to you in the event that you say something's wrong with it. Because they feel as if you're the worst of the worst and there's something wrong with you. God forbid you dislike it for what it is. The same thing was done with Joel's death, which is perhaps, if not the ending, perhaps the most criminal part of it. A lot of people have, again, made up a narrative. That is that, well, look, Joel, he's a main character, considering that it's a potential that he dies to drive the story along. It's less about him dying. And again, some people have an issue with that, and they have right to, when you on the second installment of the game, just kill off one of the main beloved characters. Absolutely. But I think it's more about how he died, the context and how he died, that frustrates people and makes them upset. Who you replaced them, all of that has to do with it. You can't just ignore context and pretend. I'm sure if, let's say, the end of this, they gave him a heroic death or something like that, a lot of people, even if they felt some kind of way about it, even sad about it, it would have been tolerable if that was the case. But that's not what happened. What you did something to the contrary of who that character was, as far as who we know him as and what we learned about him in the first game. Mainly, and namely, the fact that he was very cautious as far as who he trusted. How, this is something that obviously he passed on to Ellie, taught Ellie. Considering the environment that they're in, that is not something that you do. And that's what got him killed in this game, which makes absolutely no sense. It makes no sense whatsoever, and it's absolutely terrible writing. What happened in this, for those, and I'm going to spoil it for you because I should spoil it for you, but what happened in this stupid game is that basically he links up with these Abby and company, and he first meeting them, not knowing really anything about them, Tommy, basically let them in on who exactly they are, where they're hot at, and all that. That just doesn't even make any sense. You don't even know these people, and that's what you do. And of course, he gets shotgunned, and then he gets beat with a golf club. And that's how he goes out. And then the game forces you to play as the person that kills. And then I tries to double down and make her like this likable character, which of course she's not going to be likable after that garbage. And we just want to see her die. And then again, going to the end and we don't get to kill her. Ellie kills all these other people along the way, but gets her fingers bit off by Abby and doesn't kill her because of flashbacks. Stupid. Doesn't even make any damn sense. But the death particularly doesn't make sense because it was antithetical to who that character is. You can imagine a character, like think about any character, comic book character or so forth, that you think this is something that's who the character is. And then what gets them killed is something that's antithetical to that. As in, that character would never, ever put themselves in a position. It's core to him. It's core to Joel that he's not trusting like that. He would be way more cautious about that. And at minimum, finding out. But that's not what happened. They gave him a death that didn't even make any damn sense. And this is why I did the last video saying you don't excuse bad behavior. Or more so, you don't excuse crap writing because you want to support some out of spite, and the games journalists and so forth, and the normies all will do that. But nobody can look at that particular instance up with objectivity and say, yeah, that made sense, because it doesn't make sense, man. If you played the first game, it doesn't make sense. Maybe a normie, it'll make sense to them. But anybody that played that damn game cannot sit up here and tell me that Joel's death made sense in terms of what got him killed, what made Abby react in the way that he did, that information being passed along. There's no way that character that we know and love in that first game would have ever put himself into that situation. And that's not anything that he would have learned to let his guard down in that sense over the course of 5 years or so forth. That doesn't make any damn sense because the world's that doesn't make sense. But that's the situation that they tried to put us in. Now, this is why I say there's a separation between good and bad writers. Now, whose fault that is, I don't know. Is it Neil Druckmann's? I don't know. There's other writers that I'm sure are a part of this. Regardless of that, what doesn't make sense when it comes to this particular game, when it comes to all the money that you had to have, and you get writers that this is what bad writers do. Bad writers try to write a storyline, and they force the characters in said storyline. That's what terrible writers do. They have an idea, and they just make it happen. Great writers, and this is the equivalent, a bad writer will be the equivalent of me taking Batman and turning him into a libertarian and anarcho-capitalist, knowing that's not what he is. What they do is have a vision that they see. What reason? I don't know. Y'all can argue and debate that in the comments. By all means, go ahead. But what bad writers do is what they did in this. And they put characters in situations that are antithetical to who they are. That doesn't make sense. It's not positions that it's not part of their personality to be put in those situations and to put themselves in those situations. And no amount of getting upset or trying to salvage this game will knock that fact. That's just what it is. I'm not even willing to say, well, that's just my opinion. No, it doesn't make sense. The context doesn't make sense. If you played the first game, it doesn't make sense. If you knew nothing about it, maybe it makes sense to you. But I am not going to I'm not even willing to call that an opinion. I'm just saying from what we know about the character, what got Joel killed, that doesn't make any sense as far as what we know about him. It doesn't. It's not even an opinion. That just doesn't make sense. They just forced that. Why? Up for dispute. I don't really know. Not really trying to know. Maybe I should try to know. But nonetheless, it doesn't make sense. And we don't have to make excuses for that. And just because you want to support it out of spite, create boogeymen that you think that it's just these very bad bigots that don't like this, bigot sandwiches, that bunch of bigots that don't like this. That's not what it is. It doesn't make sense. From start to finish, storyline doesn't make sense. And obviously what's iconic, for lack of better terms, and I mean that in a negative perspective, certainly here. What a lot of people will, and as they should, because they played the first game, remember, out of this is Joel's death. And particularly that was a criminal act. I don't know what else to say other than the fact that it was criminal. Joel's death made no sense. And y'all can try to protect this damn game all you want. Be mad at folks like myself who are doing videos on it. doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. And you maybe want to like it because maybe you were told to like it, but you created a boogeyman. So now you feel noble by supporting this. And, it's just a good game. It's just great. Everything's good about it. It's fantastic. No, it's not. The story sucked. And particularly in that death, Joel's death made no sense. And we don't have to pretend or talk around that.